20 seconds to go. It's a go for the launch.
15 seconds.
The Shenzhou 18 is just seconds away from blast off.
10,
9,
9,
8,
8,
7,
6,
6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
2,
1.
1. Ignition. Engines full power. And liftoff.
And at the moment, 20 seconds after the liftoff, we will have a pitch over, which means that the flight direction will change from a vertical one to the horizontal one to the east.
Just a spectacular view there.
You can see the 8 engines working very perfect.
And you can hear the voices, things are going good. And that's
Great. We can see the videos from the camera mounted looking backwards.
So these are the side boosters.
Yeah, we can see 2 of the side boosters. And at about
a little power.
Okay, I believe this moment already the pitch over has already been accomplished.
So if things goes well, we could see the escape tower being detached in just a few minutes.
We just heard that the ground station report that everything goes okay, the flight is normal.
And we can see both the infrared image and the optical image.
Exactly. So at the moment of the 120 seconds will be the
rocket set on top of the capsule. In the event of an emergency, such as an impending explosion, it'll pull the capsule far enough away from the launch vehicle to allow for a normal parachute land.
Because at the moment of 2 minutes, it's already high enough, so we don't need escape tower. But still, we have emergency escape engines on the payload ferry. We can see that during the live coverage previously.
Which is our second stage engine, has now also begun. That also means we have a couple of events that are going to happen in rapid succession. First
if it's
is that
during
chill
the day,
on the
we could
MVAC
see it very
engine, and then
clearly,
we'll have
but
main
because
engine
it's dark.
cutoff, or MECO.
But we don't have other choices because of the launch
window
window just lie in this moment.
Ahead of first
So
and
we're
second
relying
stage
on the
separation.
infrared image now.
Then the Merlin vacuum engine on board the second stage
Another
will
critical
ignite
step coming
and
up very
carries the
soon.
crew 8
At the moment,
astronauts to orbit.
153
First stage begins
Okay,
its
great.
journey back to Earth.
The emergency escape tower has already separated, and then will be the separation of the 4 boosters.
At this point in the flight, the 9 Merlin engines are starting to throttle down,
So you saw
and we're standing.
bright flash
There's
over
that
there.
call out for throttle down.
The
and we're
emergency
standing
escape
by
system
for
have
MECO.
been separated, indicating the initial low-level flight went pretty well.
Yeah,
MECO.
it's already supersonic now.
Stage separation confirmed.
Great.
Booster
The
separation.
separation of 4 boosters, and then the separation of the first stage.
助推器分离，一级关机
After，first
一二级
stage
分离。
separation. A successful separation.
Great.
So
And the
those
next
incredible
critical step
views
will
on
be
your screen, and
the
of course the
separation
cheering
of the
behind
payload
me means that
ferries.
we have had successful main engine cutoff, stage separation, and ignition of our
Fast few
MVAC engine on board
minutes, we've
stage
seen a
2.
series of
We are
fast
also in 2 alpha
maneuvers
for the
and
abort
status
if needed.
reports there.
Now the
Of
combination
course, that
of
second
the
stage is being
Shenzhou
illuminated on
spacecraft
the
and the
right-hand
launch
side of
vehicle
your
is
screen by our
flying
single
eastwards.
Merlin vacuum engine on board stage 2.
Oh, this is video cameras mounted on the rear part of
Now, the
the
next milestone
second
we're
stage.
tracking is the stage
And
1
this is
boost
camera
back burn
is inside
on the
the
left-hand
payload
side of your
ferry,
screen.
looking forward.
And
You can
we
see
are
that's
expecting
okay.
completion of
There
that
you
burn
have
in
it.
just
Separation
about
of the
10
payload
seconds.
ferry.
抛整流
Roughly
罩。
4 minutes into the flight,
And so Crew
We
8
are
is
seeing
now
fairing
traveling at over
jettison.
4,000 miles per hour, continuing to get good call outs, everything going
so
really
now the
smoothly
spacecraft
today.
is exposed in space.
北京明
I
白。
just heard the voice of
That
Mr.
second
Ye Guangfu,
stage
the
will
commander.
continue
He
firing
reported
until we
that
reach
the
about
payload
8
ferry.
minutes into the
Now they
flight.
can see the sightseeing outside. But I believe 02 and 03 have a better view.
Yeah, they've got a
Performance
window.
on the
Yeah.
Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage.
But
I
there is
wonder-
no
G
aisle
low
seat.
dips right when we hit the separation event, and
I
it's
wonder
going
what they
to
could
continue
see,
to build up
from their
now.
windows
Yeah.
Again, we just
now.
heard another call out for nominal
Usually,
trajectory. That was the guidance,
In the
navigation,
previous
and control
missions,
officer
sometimes they can
stating nominal trajectory or
entering
everything is
the
looking
sunshine
good. Dragon
areas.
is pointed in the
But
right
this moment
direction,
they are still
continuing
in the
its flight
shadow areas
uphill.
of the Earth.
This
So
second
in
stage
about
will
a few
continue
minutes,
to
we're
fire
going to see
until a little
the
over 8
second
minutes into the
stage
flight,
rocket being
accelerating
dropped.
Dragon
Well, the
towards
second
spacecraft
stage
separation
works
power
much longer
and
than the first
placing the
stage, more than
crew
5
in
minutes.
orbit.
Yeah.
Now you can
Right
see
now, the
this is
crew
the
is
camera
traveling
mount,
at
the video
45
camera
miles
mounted
per hour and
on the
is
second
over
stage.
93 miles in altitude.
Is this the time that the crew will
Single
feel
engine can produce
maximum
over
G-forces?
220,000 pounds of
Usually
thrust
that
in the vacuum of
happens
space.
Right
and
before
you will see
separation
doing
of
the heavy
stages,
lifting
because at
right
the
now.
moment the thrust has a certain number, but you know that with the fuel becomes less and less, and the acceleration becomes greater and greater. Usually at the separation of the first stage or the separation at the second stage, they will experience the maximum peak of the G-forces.
So you might want to take a look at these astronauts and see just whether it'll show on their face or, you know, through their body
But the
gesture.
3 to 4 G is not a big problem.
Which will
It's
be the
nothing
They will
for
be
them.
trained for up to 8 to 10 G.
During this burn, Falcon 9 will
And
ignite
even
only
in
the
8
center
to 10
engine
G,
for
they can
about
do
10
the right
seconds
operations.
in order to slow the vehicle down before it reaches
So the
the
highest
denser
G-load they're
parts
going to
of the
feel
Earth's
is
atmosphere.
around
10.
That will be
In
followed
abnormal
by
cases.
landing
No,
burn
in
at
this
T
normal
plus
flight,
5 minutes
usually
and 21 seconds. This time will light
3.6.
3 engines,
that's
and the
not so
burn will
bad.
last
Not
for
so
about
bad.
20
But
seconds,
that's already
ending
a
just
large
about a minute
number
before
for
we
our
expect
normal
Dragon to
people.
be inserted
Imagine you
into
have
orbit.
3 more people on yourself, right? So that's the loading.
And so we
Usually,
did
how
also
would
hear
your
a couple
body
of different
react to
ground
that
station
many
call-outs, like
G-forces?
Bermuda.
Usually you just need to say
That
activate
is one of the
more
ground stations
muscles.
that we're receiving
you
telemetry
put
from, and everything
more muscle activity
continues to look
to
really
work
good
against
with
that,
the trajectory. The crew
that
now traveling
overgravity.
over 6,000
Is there anything
miles
that they
per
can
hour.
do now to offset the effect of high G-forces?
I think the design of their seat and their body posture is already very helpful for them to remove the extra forces.
Again, this second stage
So
will
if
continue to
everything's
light for a
normal,
couple
as
more
we just
minutes
heard, they are
before
actually in
second
a
engine
quite
cutoff. At that point,
comfortable
the vehicle will coast for a few
condition.
minutes
Yeah, as they are very
before separation.
used to those in their everyday training. Yeah.
Now we can see on the left of the screen is the video camera mounted on the second stage looking backwards. Our second stage of the Long March 2F rocket have one main engine
looks like we're starting
with
to
a
get
thrust
some
about
views of
80
the
tons.
Florida coast
And also
there
we
on
have
the
four
first stage as it
vernier
continues
engines
to make its way
which
back to
control
Earth.
the attitude and the direction. So you can see the video camera monitoring the proper working of these rocket engines. Very bright,
Good
but this
call-outs,
moment is
everything
already
going
out of
smoothly.
the atmosphere.
Now almost 7 minutes into the flight
Still,
of
the
Crew
Shenzhou
8.
17 crew is watching the live coverage.
So the next milestone we're standing by for
They will
is
meet
stage 1 landing burn
after
start.
6 or 7 hours.
Again,
Very
as
soon,
stage
very
1
soon.
approaches the space
I believe
coast to touch
our
back
Shenzhou
down
17
at
crew have
landing
already
zone 1.
prepared the breakfast for our Shenzhou 18 crew.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
And I suppose in a few minutes after the second stage shut down, we are going to see things starting to drift, starting to float.
But you know that the normal procedure is that we first shut down the main engine. Still, the 4 vernier engines works, and we will adjust the
2级主机
trajectory.
关机。
Okay, as mentioned, the main engine shut off, and the 4 vernier
And it
engines
is
still
great to
working,
see
and
that
we will
first
adjust the
stage back on
trajectory
Earth.
very precisely.
Coming up.
So after several seconds,
Next
after
on the
we have
second
already
stage is
entered the
second
right
engine
orbit,
cutoff. You
we
can
will
hear
shut
some
down the vernier
excitement here
engines.
at Hawthorne
And
at
then
SpaceX
will be the separation
headquarters
of the
as that
spacecraft.
first stage
So
successfully
it looks
landed
like the
back on Earth.
astronauts are feeling a bit
second
more
engine
at
cutoff
ease
will
now.
take place
Yes,
Has
because
the
you know that
environment-
because the shutdown
Once
of the main
Long
engine, the
Merlin
G-force is
engine cuts
not
off
so
and
remarkable
stops
now.
firing,
Yeah,
the
the
second stage
environment is
will
changing
continue to
from high
coast for
G-forces
about
to
3 minutes
microgravity
until Dragon is
conditions.
commanded to
So-
separate. At this point,
When
Dragon will
the
separate from the second
shutdown
stage
of
and will
the
fly free
vernier
with Crew
engine, they will
8 still on
experience
board and in
0 G.
orbit.
Yeah. So things will start to be floating if you watch closely. Oh, that's the shot of the solar panel.
Yeah, it's still folded now.
So the next critical step would be
The shutdown of the vernier engines. Okay.
Copy,
You can
Janet.
see on the bottom right is a 3D simulation, but this simulation is
And
based
that
on the
call-out
real
for
data,
Shannon,
which
indicative of
means
Shannon,
that the
Ireland, the
position,
very
the
last
attitude
abort
of
zone in the second stage.
the launch vehicle is representing the real status.
The Merlin engine is about to shut down. You just saw it there on your screen.
So you can see the second stage works much longer than the first one because the thrust is much smaller.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal orbit insertion.
we have 2 solar wings and each have 4 panels.
Hearing good call-outs following second stage cutoff, the crew is in a nominal or as expected orbit.
That is
astronauts
Li Guangxiu and Li Qiu.
That is great
This will
news.
be a very exciting
System
Okay,
moment.
Changjiangqi is a space tracking ship. The code, I believe, it will be Yuanwang 7 space tracking ship. It's in the Pacific Ocean. And it's already established. Look, on the simulation, we look at the dash lines. It's already established. Okay, great.
Shutdown. This helps to allow rates and motion to settle out. There are actually small reaction thrusters on the upper part of the second stage that can be used to counteract any residual motion. Basically making sure that we're in a stable coast before Dragon separates from Falcon. We expect that separation here to occur at about the 12-minute mark into
so
the flight.
the next critical step will be the unfolding
again, we did hear that the crew has been successfully inserted into a good orbit. This is the crew in microgravity, 3 of them for the very first time.
So by now, the second stage is drifting away in space. The rocket has completed its tests that send the spacecraft into the planned orbit successfully.
And also from the voice, we can hear that our Changjiang 7 or the Yuanwang 7 space tracking ship has already established stable communication with our Shenzhou spaceship.
And a big shout out to the Shenzhou 17 crew. They're watching us.
Yeah. They are more relaxed.
So right now, the second stage is performing
they will be getting back to Earth in 3 days by the end of
they will not sleep this night because they will be very, very exciting. There are visitors.
And so we will see that separation coming up in just a couple of minutes, after
I
which a number of activation checkouts occur automatically. First, we'll be checking out 12 of the Draco maneuvering thrusters all around the service section of the Dragon spacecraft.
6 batteries.
And then we'll also begin to get ready for nose cone to help protect all of those guidance, navigation, and control sensors. It also covers 4 of the Draco thrusters that will be used for the majority of the different phase
in other countries,
burns
they have some
drag into the International Space Station.
indicator to show it's floating.
So we are standing by for Dragon separation to occur here in just about 30 seconds from now.
Status with the crew.
Of course, the view you have right now on your screen. Oh, actually, now that our view has transitioned, you're getting a great view of Dragon's heat shield. This camera is on top of stage 2 and looking up into Dragon's trunk.
Second flight mission.
请站收到，东风。
So if you're just joining us this evening, we had a successful launch of Crew 8. They're on their way to the International Space Station. The first stage has already returned to Earth and landed successfully, and the second stage has shut down, and we're awaiting separation, and you see it on your screen right there.
Our ground team will check the accuracy of the orbital parameters. If everything is accurate enough, we can announce that it is a successful
now
launch.
flying free.
Dragon, SpaceX, your launch chief engineer. Welcome to orbit. Truly, it is our greatest honor for you to trust us to launch you into
The solar
space.
panels are
It's been a pleasure working
very
with
normal.
you, and we trust that all the science and work you're about to do will continue to move
And what
humanity
comes
further towards the
after
stars.
this?
We hope you enjoyed the ride and thank you for flying on Falcon 9. Please send our regards to Crew 7 and make sure to remind them you just wanted to be fashionably late.
We will double
I'll
check
hand it off to the
or
launch
even
director
triple
for a
check
few words.
with different data resources to check the accuracy of the
Have a safe
orbital
journey to the
parameters.
space station. We look forward to seeing you.
Because this accuracy is very critical for us to chasing the Tiangong space station and the dock visit.
So we cannot just declare the success just yet. We have to wait for...
We just heard his voice that the antenna for the data relay satellite has already been unfolded very normally. You know that we have a small device to keep connection with our data relay satellite, but we also have a high-gain antenna which can send videos from this antenna to the Kenyan data relay satellite. This is also very important for us.
Thank you to NASA, Roscosmos, CSA, ESA,
That's a big improvement.
who work together to make the International Space Station work for
And it also ensures
And of
the
course, big thank you to my family, friends, and
very
mentors who are the reason we're here
reliable
today.
connection connection between the ground stations and our ground centers to our Shenzhou spacecraft. You know, every mission is risky because, you know, that there are so many uncertainties. So keep a very smooth communication with the Space Flight Center, Control Center will be a very good insurance to keep the success of our flight mission.
I'm looking at the three astronauts.
And
now I'm really honored to fly this new generation spaceship with this new generation crew. Thanks to my own family for tolerating my otherworldly habits. Thanks to NASA for being the backbone of exploration that we are. And just thanks so much to our friends and colleagues at SpaceX for the awesome ride. It's great to be back.
We've just heard ground control exchanging a few words with the flight commander.
And
trying to confirm their status.
I'm super excited to be here, and you know, I need and the words that come to my mind is that I'm
grateful
and I'm thankful.
I'm feeling okay. They're feeling good.
There's no way we would have been able to do this without all the people, from all the instructors, from all the
internal environment inside a spacecraft is also good.
The kitchen kept us fed and moved out in SpaceX. Yeah, I'm so grateful for everyone, and I just want to give a big thanks to my family and friends who came from all over the world. Thank you for supporting me through all the days of waiting to get to this point. Thank you for everything, and I want to give a quick shout out to my sisters who couldn't make it.
We have a very important, very critical subsystem called the atmospheric control system. So as mentioned we heard the voice that the atmosphere inside the cabin is good, so they can open their face mask.
Another critical step.
I would like to express to you
can see they're still busy reading their menu.
I mean, a pretty young team we're looking at, in their 30s, 40s. Is this a trend? Are we going to see younger and younger astronauts in the future?
Yeah, I think we're looking forward to see the younger generation of astronauts. They are taking charge of more and more launching missions.
What's considered as a prime age range for astronauts? Or there's no such thing?
I think it depends. From
11.5度，周期1小时30分钟的预定轨道，飞船座舱环境正常，航天员状态良好。北京突轨根数及分离点参数已向各方向发出东风。
We've already got the orbital parameters as announced by the Beijing Flight Control Center. So the perigee is 200 kilometers, and the apogee is 356 kilometers, and the inclination is 41.5 degrees. So it's a very accurate launch.
The zero-G indicator, if you will,
will take an hour and a half.
Demonstrate the free-floating nature of objects.
So we will spend 6.5 hours in orbit to chase our Tianmu space station and finally dock to the docking port at the bottom of our node.
And that'll be an automated rendezvous?
In normal cases, it will be an automatic one. But if anything wrong happens to the automated docking system, as I mentioned, we will switch to the manual docking. And all these crew members were well trained for this operation.
Many parents around the world have jobs that take them away from their children and families for long periods of time to serve their communities, their country, and the world. Military families are a prime example, but many jobs, including
after the launch, they will be taking over.
The choice of the zero-G indicator was given to my daughters to represent the sacrifice that children everywhere make while their parents
are still standing by for an official confirmation declaring the launch as a success.
After coming into orbit of our Shenzhou spacecraft, the control will be switch from our Zhoutian Satellite Launch Center to Beijing Flight Control Center.
So Beijing will take over.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess the ground team are doing some calculations, maybe some adjustment burns.
Exactly. As I mentioned, we based on different data resources to confirm the accuracy of each orbital parameter to ensure that it is accurate enough. Because as we've already discussed, the Shenzhou spacecraft must enter the same orbital plane of our Tianmu space station. So this is most essential and most important requirement to its accuracy.
So right
and
now
then,
on your screen, you do
because
have
it is
that initial
now
video
lower
of
than
nose cone
our human
deployment.
space station,
And
so
again, the nose
it's orbiting
cone
the
is
Earth
opening
faster
to
than
expose
our
those
human
two
space
sets
station.
of
So
hooks
it
that
is a
Dragon
chasing
will use to
vehicle, and
autonomously
it comes
dock
closer and closer, and
with the
after 6.5
International Space Station.
hours, we will dock together.
天路跟踪正常，遥测信号正常。
Of course, loved hearing that crew's description of their zero-G indicator, and we're standing by for those views. Zero-G indicators really do become an important symbol of microgravity flight and the communities behind each mission. So for those of you following along, you'll know that our first zero-G passenger was Little Earth on demonstration mission 1. Here's Little Earth on board Dragon on that DM1 flight, and later on board the ISS. Today, just 5 years later, we've reached 50 people flown to space. From zero G to 50 in just 5 years is pretty incredible. And of course, here in Hawthorne, I actually have the real Little Earth that went to space safely
China
back
has
on
this
Earth with us
three-step
here in
strategy
Hawthorne.
for its space
Little Earth
exploration.
is a
The
celebration
first
of zero
phase,
gravity
which is the last
indicators, an
phase,
essential
is building
component
its space
of space
station.
missions that help mark
Can we
the
say that we've
transition
met that
into
target?
zero G.
What's
From Yuri
next
Gagarin's
for
famous
our
Yes,
space
we've
exploration?
already
indicators
accomplished
like Little
this
Earth
step.
and
And next,
demonstration
as we
missions
mentioned,
to Tremor the
we
sequin dinosaur.
are now
Zero
in
gravity
the
indicators
phase
have
of
become a way for all
utilization
of us to
and
connect
development.
with and celebrate human
But still,
spaceflight.
we have a lot of work in the future. For
Human
instance,
spaceflight has
our
come so
human
far
space
in the
station
last
will
5
be
years.
expanded
SpaceX has launched
double
9 human
in the future.
spaceflight missions on behalf of NASA and 4 commercial astronaut missions. That's a total of 50 crew members to space.
We're now
since
joined by
2020.
Professor Mark
34 on behalf of NASA and our
McCon-Reed, a
partners,
former
and
senior
16
advisor
commercial
for
astronauts,
science and
including the first
exploration at the
all-civilian mission to
European
space
Space
and the
Agency
first
in the
all-private
Netherlands.
passenger
Great to have
mission
you
to the
with us,
International
Professor.
Space Station.
Now, the Shenzhou 18 has just launched.
In addition to
We
flying
are
people,
standing by
SpaceX
for
also
an
enables
official
researchers the
confirmation
opportunity to
of
fly
the launch
critical
success.
science
But
to
what
orbit.
significance does it
SpaceX and
have
Dragon
for
carried
space
over 1,000
exploration?
research experiments to and from low Earth orbit
assuming
and
everything's
the
gone well,
International
which
Space
it sounds
Station,
like it has,
transported
congratulations
over
to the crew and
300,000
everybody
pounds
involved.
to and from the station
Going
since
back to the
2012.
space station, of course, you have 3
Researchers from
astronauts there
around the
already
world
waiting
use the
for
space
them, and
station
then
to
you will
address
change the
complex
crew for
human
another
health
6
problems on
months.
Earth, studying disease formation, testing drugs
expedition,
and
as they're often
diagnostic
called,
tools,
on
and
the
examining
Chinese
the
space
inner
station.
workings
This is
of
very
the human
similar
body.
to what we've been doing
At
for
any
many
one
years, of
time,
course,
the
with the
station hosts
International Space
hundreds of
Station.
investigations
And as
spanning
one of
every
your
major scientific
speakers
discipline
there
from
just said,
physics
this is
to
about building
microbiology.
capacity, expanding the space
Every
station
mission yields
and
critical
doing
research and
research and
learnings that
development,
help
both
make
on the
life
space
both on
station,
Earth and in
scientifically,
space
doing
better.
interesting
From
things there.
DNA
In fact,
sequencing
one
to
thing
3D
as an
printing,
astronomer, one thing I'm
studies on
really
the space
excited
station
about
test
is
a
the
variety of
Zhongtian
technologies,
Space
systems,
Telescope,
and
which should be
materials
launched to
that will
Tiangong,
benefit life on
not
Earth and
docked
be
to it,
needed
but
for
nearby
future
to it, and doing some
long-duration
very
exploration
interesting
missions.
scientific astronomy experiments over the years to come. But it's about that development, building the station, making it an efficient place to do science, but also looking forward, I imagine, to the Moon and Mars.
Now, China has said astronauts from other countries are welcome to go to the China space station. It says it is committed to the peaceful development in space. How would you assess prospects for international collaboration in space exploration?
Well, that's a very interesting question, of course, particularly given the current geopolitical context.
Getting great views of crew
without going into
on
too
board
much
their
depth, the
capsule
world is
there
not
and
perhaps in
standing
a
by,
happy
hoping
place
we
at the
might get a
moment.
shot. There is
And
their
exactly
zero-G
how
indicator.
nations decide to collaborate on many
Loved hearing the
things,
crew's
of
description
course,
of
is
who
something
chose
which is
this,
constantly in
who
focus
chose this
politically. And
animal
space
and
is a
why,
political
and
thing. We
everything
should
that it
never
means to
just
them,
think of it in terms
to their
of
mission,
science or
and obviously
exploration.
the
There is a strong
community standing
political
behind
element.
each of these
But I
4
think it's also
astronauts.
worth looking back to the past and looking, for example, at the Apollo-Soyuz test project in the 1970s,
And in addition to that, we
and
heard
the space
some great
station
words
itself, the
from the
International
crew
Space
expressing
Station,
their thanks
where,
and
of course, the
excitement to
United
be
States and
on
Russia
orbit.
at the moment have
Really
grave
great to see
differences
them
over the
successfully
war
on
in
their way
Ukraine,
to
but
the
are still
International
collaborating
Space
in
Station.
space.
We had a
So
successful
it's not an
nose-cone
easy
deploy,
thing to
as
see
well
into
as
the future and
Draco
see how that
checkouts.
international
Everything
collaboration may
continuing to
also
go
include
really
China.
smooth.
But I'm
So for now,
optimistic
we're going
that
to
we'll
end
find
our
ways of doing
coverage
that,
from
because
here in Hawthorne
the things we
until
want
we
to do
pick
in
back up
space
with
are
our
incredibly
docking coverage
challenging
in about 26
and
hours.
do indeed need to
So for
bring
now, we're gonna
nations
hand it
together
back
to
over
solve
to
some of
Megan
those
and
problems.
Raja at
And those
Kennedy
problems then
Space Center to
reflect
wrap
on
up
the
today's
Earth.
launch
We
coverage.
have problems on the Earth we need to solve. So being able to collaborate internationally in space also might give us hope we can collaborate internationally, for example, on climate change. So I think it's a tricky question, but let's be optimistic and see that we can actually work together.
Let's be optimistic. Thank you very much, Professor Mark Green. Thank you very much for taking the time talking to us. We appreciate your perspectives. Now, Yang Liwei, the Deputy Chief Designer of China's manned space program, talked to CGTN reporter Zheng Yibing on international cooperation in space programs, including China's manned lunar landing.
From the perspective of manned space flights, international cooperation is a well-established practice. It is true for our country and also space powers like the United States and Russia, which are cooperating even under such tense international circumstances. So we actually, from the early days till now, when we have a space station, have been seeking cooperation even though there's a lot of international constraint. Therefore, we took a path of self-reliance. For manned lunar landing, we discussed its feasibility around 2010 and 2011, and we're looking for international cooperation. We hope that different countries and institutions can join us in the whole lunar landing program, complement each other's efforts, promote the development of this cause, and explore the unknown for human beings. So I hope more countries and institutions will join us.
Stay with us for more of our live coverage on the space Shenzhou 18 launch mission, and now for more on the top stories making headlines around the world.
You know, it's always exciting when it comes to space flight, even more exciting when it comes to human space flight, and just great to see, you know, the team come up with a technical solution, look at all the data, as you heard, them keeping the crew informed, like we talked many times tonight. The core is the person and the Capcom that they are talking to, but there is literally hundreds of people talking on loops and making engineering decisions and trying to go back and look at analysis data. And so a great testament to the team tonight to pull all that data together, as they always do.
Yeah, and to make sure that they're safe at launch and also re-entry. So great to see the launch again. And once they get to the space station, they're going to have a hand in some incredible science investigations. And here's Jasmine Hopkins with more on that.
Thank you so much, Megan. That's right. We saw another beautiful, spectacular launch from here on the Space Coast. And joining us now is Dr. Ji from Emory University to talk about Project Eagle. So, Dr. Ji, what is Project Eagle?
Our goal is to investigate the impact of space microgravity on human heart microtissues. These tissues are generated from stem cells, and they are a potential source of cells for cardiac regeneration. One challenge is that these heart stem cells are largely immature, meaning that they're not as fully developed as the heart cells in our body. So we are trying to find ways to push these cells to develop further, because transplanting immature cells could actually increase the risk of complications. The good news is that we found this heart muscle cells become more mature under ground-based simulated microgravity. And we would like to confirm that observation under real space microgravity.
Right, so we're kind of taking what we've learned here on Earth and seeing if we can apply it in space. So with that in mind, we've been studying heart health in space for quite a long time now. So is Project Eagle going to tie into any of the other research we've already done?
Great question. Yes. Actually, our experiments build up on several interesting studies on the space station, including our own. For example, on the space station, heart stem cells or precursor cells grow faster than under standard gravity. So in our new experiment, we would like to learn if the beating heart muscle cells can develop further and become more mature under space microgravity.
Right, so we're kind of taking that that research to the next step there. And of course, that's really important because we're looking at going even deeper into space. But actually, is, things like Project Eagle, could that actually help us on Earth? What we're learning in space for our heart, could that benefit our heart health on Earth as well?
That's good. Another good question. Yeah, so we hope to learn, identify the molecules or conditions that can be helpful to promote the maturation of heart cells, because that could help us develop new strategies to push the cells become more mature on Earth. More mature heart cells are more reliable for repairing damaged heart, and those more mature heart cells are also useful for develop new medications to treat patients with heart disease.
Right, right. So it's great to see, we're taking it in space, also benefiting our life here on Earth. Thank you so much, Dr. Ji. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, Megan and Raja, back to you.
All right, we're about to wrap up our coverage here, but I want to take one last social media question because this one is super cute. This one is from a 4-year-old, Robbie, and he wants to know, what will the crew do to pass the time on the way to the space station?
Well, Robbie, hopefully your parents are typing for you and you don't have your own social media account as a 4-year-old. But it's actually probably the best time, both at the beginning of the mission and at the end of the mission, because on the ISS, your timeline down to 5-minute increments. So you're going. So this time in the Dragon on the way up and the way down is kind of the time to honestly look out the window, enjoy the fact that you're in space. For all of us, we've trained and spent most of our life getting ready for this moment, so actually getting to savor that and enjoy it. And you heard Mike Barrett talk about being able to look. You know, he said it was like being in a roller coaster with a bunch of teenagers. So, you know, it sounds like there's a lot of joy in that capsule right now. On the serious side, they'll probably be working with the cameras, taking some Earth observation photos, things like that. But it's mostly just starting to get the cargo ready so that when they do dock, they can be ready to go. They'll have to now start worrying about the rendezvous timeline, so they'll be monitoring the burn. So each time there's a phasing burn to get them closer to the space station, they'll be monitoring that and preparing for it. And then when it gets time to do the actual rendezvous, they'll get back in their suits and then start monitoring the systems and being ready to jump in for anything that's off nominal. So they do keep relatively busy.
I was going to say, sounds like they're doing a lot over the next...
There's plenty to be done, but it is a nice chance just to decompress a bit and enjoy the fact that you're in space. And there's some adaptation so that the ISS is a much bigger volume. So it's actually kind of helpful to use the Dragon where you're confined. You're pretty clumsy at first, and so you can't go very far without running into something and stopping. So you can use the Dragon as sort of like with training wheels. Get used to microgravity before you get on the space station and go.
So they can actually get out of their suits in these next 28 hours.
Right. So when you heard them say they could do the suit doffing procedure, they're absolutely unstrapping, taking the suits off, putting on some more comfortable clothes, and probably depending on their timeline, they may immediately go to bed. They may have some time to eat and then get up later. So it all depends on the docking timeline.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that insight. And Robbie, thank you so much for that question. That's going to do it for us here on NASA TV. But you can follow along with Crew 8's entire ride to the station by listening in to real-time mission audio. And you can check that out by scanning the QR code on your screen. Or if, again, you're watching us on your phone, just screen grab the code, and then you can click on it later. Now, Matthew, Michael, Jeanette, and Alexander are on course to arrive at the International Space Station around 3 a.m. Eastern Time on March 5th, so Tuesday. On-camera coverage of docking and arrival will resume about 2 hours before on NASA TV. And that's really always fun to watch,
Roger. Yeah, absolutely. Just the faces of the crew. I mean, I think we showed some clips from earlier before, but it's both exciting because they're coming onto the space station. It's so bizarre to have trained so much at Johnson Space Center in the mock-ups and then see the real thing, and it's upside down or sideways, and just your mind trying to take that all in. And I guarantee the smiles are going to be huge. As you saw, Laurel's excited to see him. Everyone's excited to see everyone. It's a really weird family reunion when it happens in space, but it's probably one of the most fun ones to have.
Well, and of course, before we sign off from Kennedy, I want to thank Rajachari for joining us, co-hosting his second launch with us. I hope you had a good time.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I outwore the jinx this time, so it
Thank
finally
you.
got.
I appreciate that. What we're going to do is sign you up for Crew 9. That's right. You heard it here, folks. Crew 9, Rajachari co-host. And a huge thanks to all of our guests for joining us today, but most importantly, thank you all for watching. And you can keep up with any updates on this mission using the online resources we're going to put on your screen right now. For everyone here at NASA and SpaceX, have a great morning or evening. It's still 11:25, and we'll leave you now with a look back at highlights from suit up to liftoff. Inside the suit up room, where we see our 3 astronauts and 1 cosmonaut. And the point of this card game is so that the commander loses, to use up his bad luck. Here they come, Crew 8, taking their first steps outside before their journey to the International Space Station. Crew is departing from the operations and checkout building across Kennedy Space Center to launch pad 39A. Walking over to get a good look at their ride to space. Commander Matt Dominic, pilot Michael Barrett walking down the crew access arm.
See, the techs are making sure their helmet is protected on the way in.
Jeanette Epps, Alexandra Gravenkin are 2 mission specialists for Crew 8, walking on that sticky tape to grab anything before they ingress as well.
We see 4 seats in the launch position.
They're closing the hatch now.
Full power and liftoff of NASA Crew 8. Go Falcon, go SpaceX, and go NASA.
Endeavour ascends, a beacon of human ambition. ignition. 1.7 million pounds of thrust now propelling Falcon 9 and Crew 8. Vehicle is pitching downrange.
可以解开锁弹。
长城报告，飞船转自主交会正常启动。
北京明白。各号注意，我是北京，飞船转自主交会正常启动，具备实施3圈自主原导条件。
神舟18号报告，中央准备打开返回舱舱门平衡阀，完毕。
北京明白。报告轨返2舱压力。
轨道舱压力为92.77，返回舱压力为95.08，完毕。
北京明白。
长城报告，轨道舱环境正常，满足打开返回舱舱门平衡阀条件。
北京明白。神舟18号，我是北京。
神舟18号到。
轨道舱环境正常，可以打开返回舱舱门平衡阀。
神舟18号明白。平衡，打开，然后调整返回舱排气调压组件，排气节止阀为调压，气压节止阀再关闭。
明白。排气调压下关闭，正确。排气调压，气压维持在关闭，正确。排气调压，好嘞。OK 了。
神舟18号报告，返回舱舱门平衡阀已打开，返回舱排气节止阀设为调压，气压节止阀维持关闭，完毕。
北京明白。
报告，轨返两舱压力平衡，满足打开返回舱舱门条件。
北京明白。
连接。
长程报告，飞船状态正常，具备实施自主轨控条件。
北京明白。各号注意，飞船状态正常，按正常计划实施第一次自主变轨。
可以，它怎么调整不影响你观察就行。好。影响你。
神舟18号，我是北京。
神舟18号到。
飞船10分钟后使用 A 组发动机进行第一次变轨，请固定物品，系好束缚带。
神舟18号明白。对，束缚带固定一下。好。可以，这几个。系好束缚带。明白，明白。
天路1号04星跟踪飞船结束。天路1号04星跟踪结束。
Benefits that comes from China's space program, right? China's satellite services, including a Fengyun satellite or a meteorological satellite or a Beidou navigation satellite system, they collectively serve hundreds of millions of users. How would you assess the global benefits of such services?
Yeah, the global, I think the global commercial markets would be very welcome to see that besides the GPS system, we have multiple different choices, that can provide a different level of services. Yeah, so this would be very helpful, I think, globally to provide extra value besides what we've already had. Yeah.
Now, to learn more about the spacecraft carrying out the Shenzhou 18 mission, our reporter Zheng Yibin talked to a senior researcher for the spacecraft system.
The Shenzhou 18 is a third manned spacecraft for mission to China's space station. It has the same design as Shenzhou 16, 17, and the following 19 spacecraft.
From the general technical state, there are the orbital module, the re-entry module, and the propellant module. And there are solar panels and the engines. They are consistent with the previous technological designs.
The biggest difference this time is an upgrade to the spacecraft's battery. Replacing the cadmium nickel battery is lighter and smaller lithium one, which has a much longer life.
The Shenzhou spacecraft as a manned vehicle requires the highest safety and reliability. The upgrade to the battery has been fully verified in our space station, cargo ships, and other spacecraft.
There were also small modifications, like a little more space for space science experiments. And Chen Tongxiang explained how Shenzhou 18's flight will go.
It is the 7th manned flight for China's space station. After liftoff from Zhouquan, it will fly for 6.5 hours and make orbital transfer, and then the fast rendezvous and docking with the space station. Shenzhou 18 crew will rotate with Shenzhou 17 crew and stay in the station for 6 months and then return.
For this mission, the Shenzhou spacecraft system has been working day and night to make sure the flight goes smoothly. Zheng Yibin, CDTN, Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center.
The Shenzhou 18 crew is taking a self-sufficient ecosystem with it to the China space station. The experiment they would be working on involved the second most complex vertebrate the space station has ever seen. Arsenia has the report.
4 zebrafish, 2 females, 2 males, a bunch of hornwort. In a watertight fish tank the size of 2 or 3 water bottles, China space station's first experiment on vertebrates other than human beings looks something like this.
The project on aquatic life support system in space is part of the many science studies the Shenzhou 18 mission will undertake. Professor Wang Gaohong, one of the scientists behind this lively experiment, says the aim is to keep the small ecosystem self-sufficient, where the homeworld conducts photosynthesis with LED light and let the fish be alive and happy for a month. So happy that they may lay eggs.
Taikonauts would take care of the fish tank. For instance, if the fish lay eggs, they will help in collecting the eggs. They will also take water samples. We will monitor the changes in the water samples. We will also videotape the fish tank and see how the fish behave.
Wang said the scientists prefer that the group stays limited to 4, lest a bigger crowd crashes the system. But even if it's small size-wise, the self-circulating ecosystem could be telling the scientists something big.
Zebrafish are lab rats in water, and they're quite close to us humans. They share over 80% of our genes. Some human diseases can be studied using zebrafish as model organisms. Since water occupies such a large part of our Earth, in the long term, the study of this aquatic ecosystem would help us better understand the Earth's ecosystem.
In time, the experiment could also lead to some real-life use in space. Wang said fishes are efficient sources of food, and if they can be farmed in space, they could be a good source of protein for astronauts. Wang also said the team is eyeing to scale up the experiment in the future, where fish can live a whole life cycle in space, from egg to another egg. 深夜40天，酒泉，甘肃 Province。
The Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center is home to China's first space mission. More than 6 decades later, it has evolved into a key place for China's quest into space. Our reporter Zheng Yibing is at the launch center to give us a glimpse of its past, present, and the future.
China has been pursuing its space dreams and reaching one goal after another. But do you know where all these have evolved from? With this question, I came here, the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in northwestern China. On April 24, 1970, China's first satellite Dongfang 1 was launched from here into space. To honor this, April 24 was later celebrated as China's Space Day. I followed a staff member here to explore the history of this launch center.
这是中国的第一个发射塔架，它呢叫5020工位，也是我们国家的东方红卫星呢第一个东方红卫星升起的地方。可以看到，你看那个对面还有一个塔架，它呢叫138工位。这两个塔架呢分别建成于1966年和1971年。从建成到现在呢，一共是发射了44次任务，其中最有名的呢就是我们的第一个东方红卫星，第一次返回式卫星，还有第一次远程运载火箭。 第一次对外搭载和一箭三星这5次发射任务是这个发射场的一个最有这个标志性的这个5个大的事件，可以说中国航天进步的每一步都在这里留下了它的印记。
And then, new launch towers were built at the launch center. This is the only launch pad in China for manned space missions. It has been in operation for 25 years and now is a backbone for missions to China's space station.
这座塔架是1994年开工建设，1997年竣工，1999年首次执行神舟1号飞船任务，到现在已经使用了25年，圆满完成了20多次发射任务，把我国20名航天员、32人次安全送入太空。 我们每年都要对这座塔架进行全面细致的检修和维护。未来，我们要对这座塔架进行可靠性提升、智慧化升级等相关改造。 确保圆满完成后续的发射任务。
Now the launch center is doing more than that. This is one of the launching complexes for the commercial aerospace companies. Back in 2018, Landspace launched its first rocket here. Over the following years, more than 30 commercial rockets from 6 companies were launched from this area.
Here are the commercial launch sites, creating a number of milestones, such as Tianlong 2, the first commercial liquid-fuel rocket in China to reach Earth's orbit by space pioneer; Zhutian 2, the world's first liquid-oxygen lithium-powered rocket to put into orbit by Landspace; and the first stage of takeoff and landing tests for reusable commercial rockets. The quest continues. In the near future, the companies hope to become the dynamic force of China's space exploration. Zheng Yibing, CGTN.
You're watching our special coverage of the Shenzhou 18 mission. Looks like you can already see the Earth from the spacecraft. Right? Looking at the live picture there.
I just heard the voice that the Beijing Flight Control Center asked the crew they can open the hatch now, which means that they can enter the orbital module, which will be more comfortable.
Oh, so during the 6 hours time, they could move around between the re-entry module and the orbital module.
Exactly, because you know that the space will be much bigger for them. So, more comfortable.
And it's getting brighter. You can see sunlight from
actually speaking, with today the lights inside our cabin is already more advanced than before, because today the semiconductor LCD lights are more practical than years before. But they are now preparing for the docking with rendezvous and docking with our Tiangong space station. So they will, I believe, they will also be very busy. You know that we will conduct several orbital maneuvers, most automatically, but the astronauts will well monitor all these very critical procedures, which define the distance, the relative distance and relative position between the Tiangong space station and our Shenzhou spacecraft.
And how difficult is the docking process?
We can still remember that during my first cooperation with CGTN, still called CCTV News before, we have the live coverage of the rendezvous and the docking procedure. And at that moment, because we haven't mastered this technology, we still do that very, very careful. And today, because it is very practical, as I mentioned, so this is reason why we can conduct a faster rendezvous and docking. And also, you know, one of the Tianzhou spacecraft, maybe Tianzhou 4 or Tianzhou 5, conducted the fastest, only 2 hours from the launch to the docking of the Tiangong space station, also make a world record.
It's interesting that they can move around now.
We just heard that the power generation, the power supply is very long.
So things are going well with the spacecraft. I mean, the space station is much bigger compared to what it was in the very beginning.
Yes, the 3 module, the inner volume is more than 110 cubic meters, so very, very big.
Will it be expanded into even
yes,
bigger
exactly.
one?
So in the future, we will dock another 2010 level module to the front or to the node. So the front docking port will be occupied, but with the 4th module, we will have more docking ports and buzzing ports. So we will have more reliable redundant, because today we only have 3 docking ports of the whole station. The rear docking port usually is occupied by the Tianzhou.
根据北京实时遥测数据监视判断，飞船太阳帆板展开，工况正常，原导第一次变轨正常，后续工作按正常飞控计划实施。神舟18号。
神舟18号明白。
东风。
东风明白。
华山。
华山明白。
江阴。
江阴明白。
长城。
长城明白。
the Beijing Flight Control Center, the commander just announced that the power generation is normal, and also the first orbit maneuver, as we discussed, is also normal.
This is to better position the spacecraft to dock with Tiangong Space
They
Station.
will conduct from after they enter the orbit and before the docking, they will conduct several orbit maneuvers. Each one is critical. Each one is important for them to chase our Tiangong Space Station.
And everyone is also keen to know when China will open its space station for international astronauts. By what stage will we see astronauts from other countries also living and working in the Tiangong Space Station alongside Chinese astronauts?
是，我们看到神17乘组他们在这个打开门之后哈，其实那个门和门之间的距离很短，是吧？
是的。
我们刚才看到神17乘组，它是从核心舱的节点舱的径向舱门打开。
对。
神18乘组呢是从
神舟的这个前舱门这块吧，
轨道舱的上面这个门打开之后呢，其实他们互相就已经能看到了。所以第一个进入到核心舱的应该是指令长叶光富，然后他们就和神17乘组进行了热烈的拥抱。
哎呀，非常感谢啊！今天神舟17乘组这么热情的迎接我们啊！现在此时此刻内心非常温暖，也非常感动。回想我曾经啊，也是在这儿工作了半年，现在又回到了我们的空间站，回到我们的太空家园，真的是非常激动。当前17组你们已经在轨驻留了6个月了，然后也很好的完成各项任务。那个目前呢，又把我们现在这样一个太空家园照顾得这么好，就说你们辛苦了，给你点赞。哎，栋梁来2句，好。呀，看到你们状态比我们好太多了，你们这个状态特别好。好。
非常有纪念意义。
祝贺神舟16号乘组顺利进入，与神舟15号乘组成功会师中国空间站。你们辛苦了，预祝在轨后续工作一切顺利。
Of the International Space Station from 7 to 11. It'll be used to sleep some of those extra crew members for the next few days. And currently on your screen, you can see JAXA, or Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Satoshi Furukawa. He is part of Crew 7, and he will be completing a handover period with the Crew 8 astronauts before he and the rest of his Crew 7 crewmates return to Earth in just a few days. And only an hour ago, the Dragon Endeavour spacecraft carrying Crew 8 docked to the International Space Station. This docking took place at 1:28 a.m. Central, 2:28 a.m. Eastern, as Dragon and the International Space Station were flying over the North Atlantic just east of Newfoundland. Teams continue to work through some of the hatch opening operations. This process can take about 2 hours to complete. Once the hatches are open, there will be a brief welcome ceremony as Crew 8 is officially welcomed aboard by the rest of the Expedition 70 crew. And following the welcoming ceremony, there will also be an ISS safety briefing for the Crew 8 astronauts. And then they will also take time to integrate Dragon into the station environment. To do that, they have to complete a few tasks to prepare Dragon for docked operations, including removing the LiO or lithium hydroxide canister used during free flight.
Station Dragon Houston on a big loop. After some coordination here, we're going to get the hatch open with the expedited path, and then we're going to go ahead and shoot for a PAO event at around 0900. We're just finalizing some leak checks down here on the ground.
Station copies.
Dragon copies.
And you just heard some conversation between flight controllers here on the ground and the space station and Dragon crews. They are currently targeting a welcoming ceremony to take place at 3 a.m. Central, and the hatches will open a little bit before that, probably approximately at 2:45 a.m. Central. Teams are just continuing to finalize some leak checks before that official hatch opening can take place.
Station Houston on a big loop for JAWS and hatch opening.
With you on 2. With you on the big loop.
Hey, JAWS, we're ready for you to pick up in your activity at 9:05 with the Deltas as frac.
Okay, copy. I have a go in step 3.1.
If
Copy, picking up 3.1.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop for students.
Go ahead, Dragon.
Just timing-wise, they're telling us PAO event 09 Zulu, and that is almost exactly the same time that the seats would be done drying with 1 hour. So we will give you the seat fan off command 5 Alpha dot 6.
Concur. We are already tracking that. I also have a couple items for you. First of which is, can we come on back on board with cameras?
Stand by 1, SpaceX.
Copy, standing by.
Houston Station on the big loop. I'm showing DPTT approximately 0, proceeding with step 3.3.
Yeah, copy, concur.
NASA astronaut Jasmine Mogbelli, who you can see currently on your screen in node 2 forward, is currently continuing to work through hatch opening procedures. She is currently completing the vestibule equalization process, and then the opening of the A-pass hatch will take place. And floating onto your screen now is NASA astronaut Laurel O'Hara.
Dragon on the big loop, you are welcome to come aboard.
Copy that. I'll bring the cameras back internal here shortly. Two other items, just so I am prepared for what we have to do after the PAO event. What have you completed in 4.400?
Stand by 1 moment. SpaceX Dragon on the big loop.
Go for SpaceX.
Status report 4.400. Section 1 complete. Section 2 complete. Section 3, we are going to hold on 3.1. We're going to do expedited. We're not going to do 3.1 right away. Section 4, we're monitoring. And then Section 5, we might be able to do 5.1, depending on how soon this hatch opens up, but we're not sure.
All right, copy all. You can actually defer Section 5 until after you re-enter to finish the configuration. No concerns there. Just be aware that we will not have the hatch seal covers installed, nor are we going to install the IMV duct. So just be careful as you're translating. And then final item for that hatch configuration, we are going to skip the LIO closeout as well. We're just accepting the extra consumption of the currently installed LIO canister. With that, you can proceed to Section 6 and wait for our call once the A-pass hatch is open.
SpaceX Dragon, big loop copy. We are in Section 6 right now, standing by ISS crew.
And you heard some continued conversations between the Dragon crew and teams here on the ground as they work through some of these docked operations ahead of hatch opening. There was mention of LIO, which is the lithium hydroxide canister that's used during free flight to scrub carbon dioxide from Dragon's atmosphere. Additionally, they will complete some tasked to prepare Dragon for docked operations later today, which include installing some protective covers over the Dragon hatch and the seal around the hatchway. And here we are getting live views inside Dragon. You can see that the crew has removed their suits and are in their blue flight suits awaiting hatch opening. At the top of your screen, you can see NASA astronaut Jeanette Epps. And down toward the bottom of the screen, on the left side, we have NASA astronaut Michael Barrett, and to his right, we have NASA astronaut Matthew Dominic, and we can also see Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gurbenkin.
Houston station on the big loop. APAS hatch is open and no condensation.
Yeah, we copy.
And you just heard confirmation from NASA astronaut Jasmine Mogbelli, who has been working through those hatch opening procedures. She has confirmed that the APAS hatch is open. And in just a few minutes, we should see the hatch of Dragon open and welcome the Crew 8 crew members aboard the International Space Station. Crew 8 began their journey to the International Space Station on Sunday, March 3rd, following a launch from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida at Launch Complex 39A. They launched atop a Falcon 9 rocket at 9:53 p.m. Central, 10:53 p.m. Eastern, and have been on an approximately 28-hour journey to the International Space Station, where they docked just over an hour ago at 1:28 a.m. Central, 2:28 a.m. Eastern. They've been working through these hatch opening procedures to equalize the vestibule, do some leak checks, and ensure everything is good to go before the hatches on Dragon are open to officially welcome Crew 8 aboard. Crew 8 is comprised of NASA astronauts Matthew Dominic, Michael Barrett, and Jeanette Epps, as well as Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gurbenkin. It's a first space flight for Dominic, Epps, and Gurbenkin, and a third flight for Barrett. Once on board, they will complete a brief welcome ceremony with the rest of the Expedition 70 crew, and then they will have a space station safety briefing before they jump right into handover activities with the Crew 7 crew members for the next few days before Crew 7 makes its way back home to Earth to complete their approximately 6-month journey aboard the International Space Station.
Houston, SpaceX from station on the big loop. Station is ready for Dragon hatch equalization.
Houston, SpaceX Dragon is ready for hatch equalization.
Dragon, SpaceX, we copy.
Station Dragon, Houston on a big loop. Standby for equalization. It's expected to take about 2 minutes. And then be advised that after the hatch is open, the target base plate on the APAS hatch won't be covered, so exercise caution when translating past it.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop. You are go for hatch opening per decal.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop.
And we just heard confirmation that they are go for hatch opening. We should see Crew 8 welcomed aboard in just a minute or two. Following a docking earlier this morning at 1:28 a.m. Central, 2:28 a.m. Eastern Time, we have worked through the hatch opening procedures, including the vestibule pressurization. And now we are standing by for Crew 8 to come aboard.
Copy, hatch open.
And we just heard confirmation that the Dragon hatch is open, so we should see those Crew 8 crew members float aboard shortly. Currently on your screen, you can see JAXA, or Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Satoshi Furukawa on the far left. In the center is ESA, or European Space Agency astronaut Andreas Mogensen, and also there was NASA astronaut Laurel O'Hara. They were working to set up for the welcoming ceremony that will take place shortly after Crew 8 floats aboard. And now you are seeing a live view inside the Dragon Endeavour spacecraft. You can see the SpaceX suits that the Crew 8 crew members were wearing for the docking operations, as well as for launch on Sunday, March 3rd. Crew 8 is currently standing by, and they will be ingressing into the International Space Station just a short time from now. And there we can see Crew 8 being joyfully welcomed aboard the International Space Station. First aboard was NASA astronaut Matthew Dominic, followed behind him NASA astronaut Michael Barrett and NASA astronaut Jeanette Epps. And pulling up the end, we have Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gurbenkin. The Crew 8 astronauts now officially a part of Expedition 70, and the other Expedition 70 crew members giving them hugs and handshakes as they make their way onto the International Space Station, which will be their home for the next 6 months as they conduct important science and research. With Crew 8 officially on board, we're now just standing by for some welcoming remarks from the crew. And we are currently in a brief but expected handover period. We will get signal back shortly and get those views back of the International Space Station crew.
Station Houston, Space to Ground 2. Picture looks good. There's a cable that's taking up from our perspective, is the upper right side, maybe about in the top, 20% of the screen. See if we can get that moved a little bit.
We are in another brief but expected handover period between satellites, and we should get views back of the International Space Station in just a minute. The Tracking and Data Relay Satellite System is NASA's network of specialized communication satellites, and these satellites relay signals between spacecraft, including the International Space Station and ground control stations on Earth. Once we get communication back with the International Space Station, that welcoming ceremony with Crew 8 and the rest of the Expedition 70 crew will begin.
Station, this is Houston on Space to Ground 2. Are you ready for the event? All right, let's roll. All right, stand by, stand by. Hey, Andy, sorry about that. Can you give us a little count on the microphone? We weren't getting the audio down here. Okay, just another quick count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right, 11, 12, 13, we're ready to roll.
Excellent. A big warm welcome to Crew 8 from all of us up here. Wouldn't you know it, after having made fun of Crew 8 for launching late, they arrive early to the space station and have us scrambling this morning. But it's absolutely fantastic to see their smiling faces. Welcome to space, Matt, Jeanette, and Alex, and welcome back to space to Mike. This is also for Crew 7 a slightly bittersweet moment, because with their arrival, it also starts the countdown to our own departure and return to Earth in about a week's time. But it's great to see Crew 8. Welcome. You guys are going to have a fantastic mission. I'm sure of it. And we look forward to spending the next week in space with you. And for Laurel, Oleg, and Nikolai, there you are. A few more weeks. But welcome to you, and I'll pass the mic to you, Matt.
Thank you so much. We are, of course, super excited to be here, and after we saw you call us out yesterday, we phoned a few friends to expedite things to kind of throw you off guard on purpose. Or so we hope, or wished. Anyway, we're so excited to be here. Big thank you to everyone who helped put this together, such a giant team around the world. And we're excited to be on board and ready to take over the watch. Over to you, Mike.
Well, first thing is just great to be back. There's such a sense of familiarity and homeness to the station. And can't wait to get back to work. But just a big shout out to all the folks who got us up here to NASA. Our friends at SpaceX for building a great little spaceship, and a little taste of the flexibility this morning that we'll be expecting over the next 6 months. I know that our flight's going to go by in a blink of an eye, and really anxious to start. Thanks for the very warm welcome from Crew 7.
I second everything that Matt and Mike has said, and I just want to thank my family as well for being patient with me, and I made it here.
Всем привет с орбиты. Ну что, мы добрались. Полет был достаточно легким, поэтому надеюсь, что и продолжение будет подобным. Всем спасибо и всем передаю большой привет. Thanks a lot, all teams.
Well, once again, welcome to the International Space Station. This is an incredible place. You will have a great time up here, just like we did. We are doing so much exciting science at the moment, and we look forward to introducing you to all of it. So once again, welcome, Crew 8.
All right, thanks, Station, for all of that. I can tell you on behalf of us that are left here on the planet, we are incredibly proud to be part of this, and we're all smiling down here. All right, Station, we are now resuming operational communications.
And there you have it. Crew 8 is officially on board the International Space Station and welcomed by the Expedition 70 crew, bringing the current space station population to 11 for the next few days. Crew 8 began their journey to the orbiting laboratory following a liftoff at 9:53 p.m. Central, 10:53 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, March 3rd from Launch Pad 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida atop a Falcon 9 rocket. Following orbital insertion, the Dragon vehicle carrying Crew 8 completed a series of automatic maneuvers to guide the spacecraft to the forward-facing port of the station's Harmony module. Dragon Endeavour and its 4-person crew of NASA astronauts Matthew Dominic, Michael Barrett, and Jeanette Epps, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gurbankin docked to the International Space Station at 1:28 a.m. Central, 2:28 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday, March 5th, as the space station and Dragon were traveling over the North Atlantic, just east of Newfoundland. Once the vestibule was pressurized and a series of leak checks were performed, the hatches were opened and Crew 8 was officially welcomed aboard the International Space Station, where they will spend the next 6 months docked to the orbiting laboratory, conducting new scientific research and experiments. Thank you for joining us for our Crew 8 coverage this morning. Go NASA, go SpaceX, and go Crew 8. This is Mission Control Houston.